I want to critically embrace the theory of spirodynamics. But I also, right at the very start of the video, want you to be aware of the pitfalls it can create. So often in spiritual circles, they're using a theory called spirodynamics and like to put people into drawers. Usually these drawers are color-coded. So what is spirodynamics? Spirodynamics in a snapshot is a theory that our personal development as an individual human being can be correlated with collective development, how we as societies develop. And it's a color-coded thing, just in the theory. So I give you a couple of blunt examples from my own upbringing. So I grew up very left-wing, kind of political hippie, kind of permaculture, kind of very post-conventional. And this was obviously like a lens that I was just not aware of, right? This was like sort of my autopilot consciousness. So obviously I was judging everybody else and putting everybody else into drawers. For example, I grew up with the notion that like a healthy quote-unquote orange, so a healthy achieving mentality, which is like usually represented like in mainstream capitalism, was a bad thing. So I was always like pointing the finger at people like this. Also, I grew up with the notion that like conflict, especially anger, and a healthy expression of anger is a bad thing. So obviously, again, I was pointing with the finger and putting people into drawers that I was perceiving as angry, and maybe too angry, maybe I was just afraid of them and putting them into drawers. In as much as I think there's so much to learn from it and a beautiful way to abstract reality, and it can certainly help you to cognize and get a deeper understanding where people with their center of gravity of consciousness are sitting with their product, with their service, and their own upbringing and their culture. I, in this video, want to talk more about like the pitfalls, and definitely one of the pitfalls, besides like putting people in drawers, is that a lot of people who think of themselves and coin themselves like teal or integral, in my humble understanding, often are still pretty far from it. Including myself, right? Am I teal? Am I second tier? I don't know. I know like from lived experience that I certainly have like healthy, ethnocentric, color-coded, beige, violet parts and bits and pieces of myself. I certainly hope that I have very clear like structure and ideals inside of myself. That would be like color-coded as blue in spirodynamics. I certainly hope that after having built consciously my career as a social entrepreneur internationally, but mainly based in Berlin, I really gave my very best to position myself in the market. Healthy orange, color-coded orange. Also, I think I really align to my virtues and really strive to making this planet a better place. This would be color-coded green. And then there's actually one of the most like interesting, but also the most like, let's say, okay, what the fuss about it, like second tier perspective. So in spirodynamics, the most interesting thing is they call it like a leap of consciousness. I certainly know this like from my personal biography. It's where you perceive that all these different parts that I was just talking about, the spiral, they're needed for a healthy integrated version. And then you jump on a different level, because then suddenly all these divides between left and right, between achieving and embracing, between like a healthy ego and transcending your ego, between your tribalistic consciousness and like you're like rooted in like ancestry and maybe wanting to strive to be a world citizen. They're not mutually exclusive. They're actually like more pieces of a gigantic puzzle, like beautifully and magically aligning itself. Anyhow, these were my 2 cents on spirodynamics and the learnings that I hope you're taking out of it. If you don't know the theory, I strongly recommend you read a book, watch a couple of videos. Actually, there are not so many good videos around it, I think. So it's more about like really reading the books or like listening to a couple of really good podcasts around it. But then also be aware and not put people in drawers. That's really very important.